Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today, what are we going to be doing? Well, we've got a new set coming up in about a week. Um, so you know what that means. Spoiler season is coming up. Um, we have a new champion that was spoiler day. They started spoiler season, so we've got a new champion. Got a lot of cards as well. I'm going to be honest with you. Not the biggest fan of this champ and some of these cards. Not because I think they're like weak or anything, but because I'm not a big fan of their design. I'm nothing for me personally. You have to remember this is for me and my personal taste. You know me by now. I'm a control guy. I like to sit back. I like to draw cards. I like value. I don't think these cards are like the value-oriented cards, and this champion is definitely not a value-oriented champion. But we got a lot of cards, so let's start looking at the cards right away because we don't want to make this video too long. Okay, so this upcoming expansion, it's called Domination. Nice name. Not a fan of these names in all honesty lately. First off, we get Awakening, now Domination. Is it just me? Is it my brain? Is my brain just messed up and super degenerate? It's a little sexual, just saying. Anyway, but yeah, as you can see, we have Varus. And as you can also see here, lots of stuff to talk to. As you can also see here, probably more cultist stuff. So everything here is also Kayn support, Kayn buffs, whatever you want to call it. So, what is Varus? Let's talk about Varus. Varus is a 4-mana 3/4 quick attack champion. Okay, stat stick champion with quick attack. Kind of bland in all honesty. He is a Runeterra champion, so he has an origin. Auto equips the Darkened Bow. Level up, you've targeted 8+ allies. Okay, what does he do when he levels up though? He still auto equips the Darkened Bow. Now he has quick attack and Overwhelm. Darkened Bow activates twice and has max +10/+0. But what is the Darkened Bow? Darkened Bow is a 2-mana weapon, 2-mana equipment. When you play a spell or equipped an ally, give me +1/+0 up to a max of +5/+0 until the next time my bearer strikes. So when he's leveled up, it can be +10/+0. I have no idea how this will work. If the Darkened Bow gets a buff, like let's say you play Varus, you get the Darkened Bow, and then you play a spell, so Darkened Bow is like +1/+0, right? And then Varus dies, and you know the equipment goes back to your hand, Darkened Bow goes back to your hand. Is it still a 1/0 weapon? I feel like it probably is, because the bearer never technically struck, it just died to like a vengeance or whatever. I don't know. That might actually be very, very important to know, because you can actually then do like some shenanigans by equipping a equipment that's already equipping an equipment that to a unit that already has Darkened Bow on it to like shuffle it around to something as like elusive or Overwhelm or something. And the last thing that's important, well, we got two more things. Is champ spell. Champ spell is Chain of Corruption. Give an enemy vulnerable. Give an ally +1/+0 this round. Create a fleeting Chain of Corruption. So, you know, 3 mana, do the thing. It gives you a copy of itself to keep casting it over and over. Kind of like Noxian Guillotine, except it's burst speed. Also kind of like a old Hush. Hush used to be a repeatable card you could keep casting over and over and over as long as you had the mana, if you didn't know. But as I was saying before I remember the champion spell, the more important thing, very important thing with Runeterra champs, the origin. What's it actually do? First off, it actually does something. I know, like, it's like, yeah, no shit, streamer. I gotta say that, right? Like, there are some origins that just do literally nothing. They're just put the cards in the deck. That's it. Evelyn and I think Jax are the two. I think every other Runeterran champion origin does something. So what is his origin doing? You may put any cultist cards into your deck during deck building. Okay, so that's literally just Kayn. Kayn's origin. But what else does it do? Once you've played 3 cultist spells, draw a Varus. So it's pretty much Kayn, but in a different branch for his origin. you can put all the cultist spells in your deck, but instead of playing cultist units, cultist followers, you play cultist spells to draw Varus. So if I remember correctly, Kayn is once you've played 3 cultist followers, draw Kayn. So here it's play 3 cultist spells, draw Varus. Honestly, that seems a little bit more difficult to get on curve. But what makes me think it's actually not that difficult to get on curve is it needs 3 spells, right? Momentous Choice is a cultist spell. That alone, obviously, if Momentous Choice is active and you get the second one, that's already 2/3, 2 out of 3 spells to draw the Varus on curve. I really think it will be really easy to get Varus on curve, and a 4-mana 3/4 quick attack on curve is very powerful. I do think it's not insanely powerful. Thanks to the 4 health, though, I think it's going to be fine. 3 attack for a quick attack unit on 4 is not the greatest, as evidenced by Gnar. I think 3 and 4 is actually a big breakpoint for these 4-mana quick attack units. Gnar, I mean, there's a lot of other stuff. Gnar went from like insanely busted, extremely played at 4/3 to kind of just okay as a 3/3. That's also because Bandle got heavily nerfed. But yeah, Varus himself, I'm going to be honest with you. I think he's actually solid. I think he's a fine champion, a solid tier 2 champion. I don't think he's going to come in and just be everywhere and be a meta-defining champion, but I think he'll be okay. He's better than Kayn. I'll give you that. He is the better cultist Runeterran champion. He's cheaper. That's nice. Sure, he doesn't have Challenger, but when he levels up, he finishes the game faster. You might say, well, Red Kayn also has Overwhelm, Rost. Yes, you're not wrong, but Rost takes a long time to actually scale up and get really big. I guess you can take it the other way and say, like, well, Kayn's a little more grindy. And sure, but I'd rather do other things if I'm trying to play a more grindy deck. And Cultist doesn't seem to be like the deck that wants to be a grindy deck. So yeah, overall, big fan of this, not a big fan, sorry. Not a big fan of the guy. I'm more of a big fan of some of the card support, I'd say. But my problem I have with Varus is, what are we doing with him? Like, who do we pair him with? The best deck I think of is Action, or best card is Action, the best champion. Action, Varus. You play Darken Bloodletters, the 1-mana Darken weapon, the it's Zalani. Zalani Darken weapon. You play that because it helps level up both of your champions. You know, Action accelerates through its landmarks much quicker. Varus levels up much faster thanks to Bloodletters. I think that's the name of it. I hope that's the name of it. The 1-mana Darken weapon, really. But here's my problem. I've thought of other deck ideas with Varus, like, okay, Varus Fiora, Varus Pantheon, Varus Lee, etc., etc. Every single deck, champion pairing, whatever you want to say, I could think of, was just an inferior, in my opinion, an inferior version of a already pretty solid deck, like Varus Action. I'd rather play Action Lee Sin. And this is just the problem, or one of the weaknesses of Runeterran champions. You're kind of giving up a secondary region. Especially Ionia. Ionia's busted. You're giving up what? Like Vestayan Disciples, Deny. Sure, you can play, I guess, Rite of Negation. But Deep Meditation if you want Deep Meditation. I think you're just giving too much. And I think Lee Sin is just better. Having Barrier, getting Barrier, Challenger, and Lee Sin also kills pretty quickly too. How about Varus Pantheon? Varus Pantheon. Pantheon likes to target stuff. Sure, but I feel like Fiora Pantheon's better. Giving up Demacia seems like you're giving up a lot of stuff. Basically giving up strike spells and rallies hurts a lot. Sure, there's the Cultist kill spell, the 4-mana kill spell. Is there a Cultist rally? Like a 5-mana rally, it costs 2 less if you've equipped a unit or something. I could honestly see that being a card. But yeah, I feel like you're just giving up too much for Varus, and Varus is not giving enough back in return. And yes, because I know some people wonder, you can technically play 2 Runeterra champions. You could play Varus Kayn if you wanted. I think that's a bad idea, but you could try it. So yeah, overall, pretty solid guy. Pretty sure you will not be able to put Chains of Corruption in your deck, though. I don't think so. Perhaps, I'm pretty sure, yeah, like there's no collectible version of it. I think there are some Runeterra champs that you can put their chance spell, like Bard. I think you can put Bard's chance spell in your deck, but I think that's it. So overall, the Varus package is fine. It's just, overall, he's a solid stat, quick attack guy who, if he levels up, he gets Overwhelm and hits really hard. I've also heard, like, what about Varus Nami? That means you're Bilgewater Varus. You're giving up Ionia. Sure, you can still play Momentous Choice, but again, you're giving up Deny, and I feel like that's a bad idea. Also, giving up both Deny and on top of that Wuju style and Vestayan Disciple is not a good idea. Also, I would be very surprised if Nami doesn't get a nerf on set release. It's a rare thing that they do balance patches, like miniature balance patches, when new sets come out, but they have done it before, and they usually do it when something is really, really, really strong, and I think Nami qualifies. Anyway, let's look at the rest of the cards. There are quite a bit of cards left, mostly just cultist stuff, but some non-cultist stuff too, I think. Is it all actually cultist? Oh, it's all actually cultist stuff. So first off, we have a Bandle Cultist. Blooming Cultist. I actually thought it was the flower. I thought the flower was the cultist. Is it? Wait, is it? Wait, no, that's Varus in the background. Never mind, it is the flower. Huh. I don't know enough about League lore. Person, plant, animal, the darkens, corruptive, influence spares no one and nothing. So, Varus corrupted a flower? Okay. Sure, what does the Blooming Cultist do, though? Well, it's a cultist. Sure. 3 mana 3/2 with a tune. Okay, so it's kind of like a 2-drop. 3 mana 3/2 is not a great stat line, but 2 mana 3/2 is a solid stat line. Sure, you can't play it on 2, but you're getting a discount. You're getting a kickback, a refund in some of your mana you spent on turn 3. Once you've equipped an ally this game, grant me elusive. I have no idea how to evaluate this. This is kind of first off, I don't play elusives, and I hate elusives. So I'll be honest with you, I'm a little biased against them, and I hate every single elusive. Well, I like Shadow Assassin value, and I like Zoe. I don't know about this card though. Will you play this in an actual Bandle deck? I don't think so. I could see this in a cultist deck. Like, you put maybe if Varus dies, you put, I've already forgot the name of it. Darkened Bow? Yeah, Darkened Bow. Maybe you put the Darkened Bow on the cultist. Darkened Bow seems like it'll want things that have Overwhelm or Elusive, and this has Elusive, so it's solid. 2 health is a problem, though. You know, Mystic Shot range. So yeah, I'm not sure about this. I think Elusive is much easier to answer than Overwhelm. Besides, you know, silences like Hush and Equinox, you also have just block enablers like Sharp Sight. Pretty much just Sharp Sight. But yeah, low health is, I'm not upset that it's kind of easy to deal with, but it's a little low health. But it's also cheap, and it does hit hard. Like 3 damage, 3 elusive damage on turn 3 is pretty solid. And it's not hard to activate this on turn 3. Basically, just play a Weapon Master on turn 1 or 2. Feareth or Hookmaster, I believe, are the 2 Weapon Masters. You could also just, like, turn 1 bank mana, turn 2 action, play Darkened Bloodletters, turn 3 Blooming Cultist. There you go. And you could, I guess you could technically play, like, turn 1 bank mana, turn 2 action, turn 3 Cultist, and then put the Bloodletters on the Cultist. I'm pretty sure that should work. Because it doesn't say like when it's summoned if you've equipped an ally this game. It just says once you've equipped an ally. So it should get elusive if it's on the field already and then you equipped an ally. So I think it's okay. It brings in some solid chip damage that's hard to deal with. So yeah, I think it's an okay card. Sudden Surge. Another Bandle card. 4-mana burst speed spell. Once you've equipped an ally this game, I cost 2 less, so it'll go down to 2 mana. Grow an ally to +5/+5 this round. So it's a bigger purple berry shake. I think it's okay. I'm not really excited to put this in most of my Bandle decks. Like, I don't think Shellfolk would play this. Maybe Nora could play this, but Nora doesn't really play equipment or weapon masters, so I don't think Nora would play it. Because if you're not activating this, if you're not making this cost 2 mana, then this card is trash. If it costs 2 mana, if you can get it consistently at 2 mana, it's an okay buff spell. Probably using it just to save your unit, in all honesty. Kind of nice against action. Like, put this on action, it targets action, grows them up to a 5/5 quick attack. So I think it's okay as a 1 of or a 2 of, but I kind of would rather just play like other things. I think there are better combat tricks, and they are easier, and other combat tricks that are almost as easy to activate, if not easier. Next up, Muru Cultist. 1 mana 2/2. Solid stat line here. Bilgewater card. When equipped allies attack, deal 1 to the enemy nexus. So it's Crackshot Corsair with a bigger body. Crackshot Corsair is a 1 mana 1/1 that just says, I believe the text is like, when allies attack, deal 1 to the enemy nexus. So, and it's also in Bilgewater. I feel like most of the time I'd rather, if I care about this effect, I'd mostly just want to play Crackshot Corsair. Because also Crackshot Corsair is kind of a 1-drop. You probably don't usually want to play it on 1 a lot of the time because it's not that big. But you can play Crackshot Corsair on 1 and attack in and get 2 damage in. Yes, I know this is also technically 2 damage if on 1, but eh. Also, you need to attack in with equipped stuff, which is, I don't know, it seems a little too constricting to just play it in Bilgewater decks when I could just play Crackshot Corsair. For a Cultist deck that's not playing Bilgewater, though, sure, I kind of like this card for Cultist decks that are not playing Bilgewater. It gives you some chip damage, you're playing Overwhelm stuff, you're playing elusive stuff, so I think the chip damage is pretty solid. And it's a 1 mana 2/2 with upside. 1 mana 2/2s with upside are very solid. I mean, we play 1 mana 2/1s with upside, so 1 mana 2/2s with upside should be okay at the very least. It just comes down to how good is Cultist decks, and does the Cultist deck even want this effect? And I think they would want it just because it's a solid body. It does make the the 1 mana slot start to get a little crowded in the Cultist deck. You're definitely playing the Bakai Cultist, the 1 mana 2/1 predict guy, because that guy is just busted. You can play that even outside of Cultist decks. So with that guy and the Muru Cultist, it's not terrible. Like, if you're mid-range, which is what it seems like Cultist is trying to do, it's fine having multiple 1-drops so you get on the field on 1. Next up, well, so yeah, there's this skill. So, you know, it's called Piercing Bolt, whatever. I can't evaluate this card. First off, I have no idea what this is. Like, Ibaros? I don't know enough about League lore. Like, I know some League of Legends lore, but I'm not, like, the best at it. The most knowledgeable. Is Ibaros a character? Or is this, like, already an established character, or this is a newer character? Because it looks like, when I saw this, I was like, Water Mordekaiser? New Nautilus skin? As for the card itself, Unending Wave, 4 mana Bilgewater spell. It's also a Cultist card. Burst speed spell too. Once you have equipped an ally this game, I cost 2 less. A lot of these cards are doing this whole cost less if you've equipped an ally stuff. Draw 2 and give them fleeting. 2 mana, draw 2. Okay. So you know who really likes this? Twisted Fate. I mean, so here's the thing. Bilgewater has pretty much become the card draw region, which is not really a thing I thought it would be, but sure. I don't know. This terrifies me with Twisted Fate now. Eye of Nagakaburos is a thing already, but I feel like if you're playing this card in your TF deck, it's because you actually want to level up TF. I feel if you're not really trying to level up your TF that much, you probably don't play this card, unless you're, I guess, the Cultist deck and you want card draw, because I don't think the Cultists have card draw, besides this, of course. So yeah, I like this for Cultist decks. I think it's a solid 3 of, probably, in Cultist decks, depending on the meta and how good the deck is. Outside, but I can see this being played outside of Cultist decks. I think TF loves this card. TF, basically cards that are cheap and say draw lots of cards, TF loves. You play what? Piltover Castaway as your weapon master, I guess. He's a PNZ Bilgewater card. And of course, if you're in like Noxus or Ionia, you can also play a Hookmaster. So, you know, Swain, TF Swain. TF Swain doesn't really try to level up TF, but I could see this being played. I think they'd still just rather play Eye of Nagakaburos instead. That card's just so good. But yeah, this card is scary. Also, Nami could play this, I think. 2-mana draw 2 is a pretty solid effect, really. Like, we have a 2-mana draw 2. It's called Rummage, but it does ask you to discard cards. This thing's downside is you have to first activate it by equipping an ally, which is not that difficult. And you can't hold the cards, they are fleeting, so if you draw something like Deny, you're kind of screwed. But still, I think it's a very powerful effect, very powerful card. Cheap card draw is really nice, and I could see this honestly getting nerfed. I think this card, for now, even though it's the first day of the card teasers, the spoilers, I think this is the strongest card so far. Or maybe the most likely to get nerfed? I could see it going up to 5 mana. Next up, Mountain Goat. Oh, sorry, I meant Lunari Cultist. It's basically Mountain Goat. It's worse Mountain Goat. Lunari Cultist is, again, a Cultist. 2 mana, 1/3. When I'm summoned or once you've equipped an ally this game, create a gem in hand. Okay, so it's a slightly bigger gift giver. The 1 mana, 1/2 that gives you a gem right away. I don't get it. I don't see... The gem does let you self-target your allies, so that's cool. But I don't see myself ever playing this outside of Cultist. Why would I ever play this card outside of Cultist when Mountain Goat exists? Yes, I get it. Mountain Goat does have to strike, so maybe it won't get a strike. Maybe it'll get hit by a Mystic Shot. Whatever. Mountain Goat, in my opinion, is just that much better. 1/3s really don't trade well. I think for a 2 mana 1/3 to be playable, I think it has to do a lot of stuff. And yes, there are 2 mana 1/3s that see play, but they, again, do a lot of stuff, like Coral Creatures. Coral Creatures gives you mana, because Attune also gives you a spell. There's also the Burn guy, the PNZ Burn guy that deals 2 when you attack with him. He burns. That's what he does. He does a lot by hitting your opponent and making their health head to 0. Getting a gem is not enough. Just play Mountain Goat. This thing's not that great against aggressive decks too. You might think on paper, well, it's a 1/3. It's a solid defensive body. I think by turn 2, most things are, as for an aggro deck, by turn 2, most things are just going to go over the top of a 1/3. Yes, you can say, well, you can play the Cultist and then jam it up to a 2/3. Or you could just play Mountain Goat, I guess. It'll play Mountain Goat. Also, this can't block Fearsomes, and that does come up with things like Elise. So, yeah, not a fan of this card. I think it's kind of bad outside of Cultist, and even in Cultist, I'm not a fan of it. I guess you could argue Cultist, you might still play it because Cultists don't really have good 2-drops. The only other 2-drop for Cultists so far, I think, is Keeper of the Box, the 2 mana 2/2 Fearsome. That when something's been equipped, I think it gets Lifesteal, which is not that great. So maybe this will see play just so you have a 2-drop. I feel like you'd rather just play whatever your secondary regions 2-drops are instead. Pretty much all regions by now have a good solid 2-drop. And our next card, the Expanse Protection. Very boring card in all honesty. 4 mana burst spell. Once you've equipped an ally this game, I cost 2 less. Give an ally spell shield this round. I say boring. I'm not saying bad. I think the card is really strong and pretty good. Not like 3 of good, but I think if you're a more tempo-oriented deck, you play it, I think it's going to blow out a lot of decks. You might say like, oh, well, Vile Feast, Pokestake. The fact that it costs 2 when it's active makes it just so mana efficient, and you can just keep developing and developing and then cast this. Compare this to like Bastion. You almost never proactively Bastion. Sure, the spell shield's only for this round. It does mean you have to play this reactively, which I think is fine. You use this to protect like turn 4 Kane, or turn 4 Kane, turn 4 Varus, turn 5 Kane, and then your opponent's like Vengeance and they don't have 2 mana up because, you know, that's a very early Vengeance. They had to bank mana. They probably don't have enough mana left over after they Vengeance to Vile Feast. You play this, pretty much 2 mana counter a Vengeance. So I think it's a solid 2 of in some Cultist decks. Maybe even a 3 of depending on the meta. Next up, don't believe this is a Cultist card. 5 mana 5/5, Iceveil Cultist. Equipped allies have Overwhelm. This is not a Cultist card. I mean, it is. By definition, it says Cultist on the top, but I think this is more for Ornn. I look at this card and I'm like, oh, it's the card that actually, you know, holds Ornn together, I feel. I look at this card, because I've seen Ornn decks. Like, there are still people out there who are trying to make Ornn work. One problem with Ornn is just getting chump block. You might say, like, oh, well, improvise. Improvise for the Overwhelm, the Fish Whack, right? First off, that's a little RNG, right? So I like this card in Ornn decks. In Cultist decks, sure, maybe as a 1 or 2 of. It is a little expensive, like its body's kind of big, I guess, but I don't know about in Cultist decks. Like, I guess it's okay if you just really want another finisher, sure. But I think this is more of an Ornn card than a Cultist card. Next up, Unforgiving Cold. 4 mana burst speed spell. Frostbite the strongest enemy. If you have equipped an ally this game, do it again. Basically, it's harsh winds for 1 less mana, but you can't target. That's cool. I will say the cute thing is it does technically get through Spell Shield and Harsh Winds doesn't. The first Frostbite will go on the Spell Shield unit, popping the Spell Shield, and then the second one will Frostbite it. I think that's how it should work. So it's got that over Harsh Wind. So I like the card. I think it's solid. Does a Cultist deck want this? Maybe. I think they do. Like, I'm thinking about Cultist decks, and they don't really have great combat tricks. And I think this is cheap enough to be a solid combat trick. And it shouldn't be too hard to activate. Not being able to target is kind of what the payoff, or the kind of the tax, whatever, and the downside, the trade-off for being 4 mana. But I think it's a solid card. I could see myself playing some of them. And also, again, I feel like this is a meta-dependent card. You know, Overwhelm stuff, just big stuff, elusive stuff, and then you'll just play this. Next up, Ambitious Cultist. I like this card. 4 mana 3/5 PNZ card. Once you've equipped an ally this game, create a new spell that costs 2 in hand and set its cost to 0. I feel like I should say this every time we see new. New spells are spells you haven't cast before. So that means even if you're playing Mystic Shot in your deck, it can still technically create Mystic Shot if you haven't cast any Mystic Shots. It also doesn't seem like it's limited to your region, so that's kind of nice. So it can grab a spell from any region. There are pretty good spells out there. Twin, Pale Cascade, Guiding Touch, all the combat tricks basically. But there are also some pretty bad spells too, like I don't know the name of them because they're really, really bad. But like the thing that summons some ephemerals, the thing that looks at spell or units and puts puff caps on them in your opponent's deck. But I think this card is fine. Very solid body. 4 mana 3/5 is a very thick body. Gives you a card right away if you've activated it. So that's good. And I think on average, most 2 mana spells are good and fine. Sure, you can low roll, but I think most of the time you're going to get a good spell. I think this is probably going to be a 3 of in Cultist decks. Maybe, I don't know, because again, it's not real. It is a little RNG and it's not helping your mid-range game plan. But I can see it also outside of Cultist. It's just got a solid defensive body. Gives you a little value. It is technically PNZ, so you could argue as well discard fodder for Get Excited and Rummage. I like the card. I might be over evaluating it because I see card that replaces itself and I instantly love the card. But I like the card. And our final card, Violent Discord. 2 mana, fast spell. Also Cultist spell. Deal 1 to a unit. If you've equipped an ally this game, copy me with the same targets. So it's a Mystic Shot you have to activate, but the trade-off is you can't hit face. So why would you ever play this over Mystic Shot? The copy part. I think you can, if you're in a spells matter deck, I guess you play it like I don't know, Lee Sin, Nami. It also is technically targeting a second time, so that's a extra +1 to an Ezreal level up, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, I think it's an okay card. I think it's fine. I think it has a home, but I'm not the biggest fan of this card. Also, you have to activate it, so against more aggressive decks, if you can't activate it early on, it's kind of going to just be a 2 mana ping, a pokey stick that doesn't, you know, that can't go face or draw you a card against more aggressive decks, which is fine. Like 2 mana deal 1's okay. It's not the worst. But yeah, so I think it's fine. I think the cards are okay. Like all these Cultist cards, mostly the best thing to look forward to with these cards, I guess, is Kayn. Kayn's probably looking at this and being like, oh boy, more stuff for me. And Varus himself is solid. Again, just like I said earlier, this is not really my play style. These cards are. I hope we get a control champ. Maybe Seraphine will be a more controlled champ and we can play Seraphine, Master Yi, and that'll be cool. I feel like Seraphine will probably be a Darken pairing though. Maybe Seraphine Varus, Seraphine Kayn. It definitely seems like Seraphine's going to be a spells matter kind of champ when she does eventually get out. I also doubt we're going to get Aatrox. I feel like Aatrox will probably be saved for the next expansion, saving, you know, 1 Darken champ for each expansion. And we have Varus already. So yeah, don't know. I guess we could also get Vayne. I think Vayne's also had, there's been some teasing of Vayne as well, you know, as a funny, kind of funny that they'll just be like lots of bow champs, I guess. Anyway, though, that's all the champs. Video's starting to get a little long now. I apologize for that. But again, it was a lot of cards and a lot to talk about and a lot to evaluate. So yeah, I would love to hear your opinion on this. What's your thoughts on these cards and Varus? Are you excited? Are you a little disappointed? Are you just okay about it? Just like it for me, I'm just like, yeah, it's whatever. It seems fine. I'm not hyped up to play them or these cards, but they're solid. They're fine. Like if Nami doesn't get nerfed, I don't see these cards really doing anything, but yeah, sure. And Nami needs to get nerfed because some of these cards will just go into a Nami deck and make Nami even more powerful. But yeah, I'd love to hear your opinion on these cards, and I'd love to hear what you guys would like to see from this expansion. I personally just want to see more control tools, some extra like card advantage stuff, maybe some more manifest, because I love manifest. But I'd love to hear what you guys would like. And if you guys just enjoy the video in general, I'd love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. Always helps me and the channel out. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. Also, if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Senaton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye!